Everyone, this is the second part of the advanced titles tutorials. We're going to look at some more layer effects, including how to make gradients and glow effects on your titles. If you have a lot of words in your title and you're going to apply the same layer effects to all of them, it's actually easier to just add the layers to a group. Hold down the Control key, click each layer that you want to add to a group, right-click on one of them, and then go to New Group from Layers. You can give it a name if you like. And then you can see that now all the individual layers are tucked away inside Group 1. If you double-click on Group 1, you can add layer effects, and they'll impact every layer that's inside that group. So let's say you were trying to copy the Stranger Things title. First, you want to have the title open in Photoshop, and if you click the tab, pull it down and let go, it'll float there so that you can see it at the same time you're working on your own. I've already set up the font and the size and added a stroke to the outside of the letters. But if you zoom in on the actual title, you can see that there's actually some glow around those letters. So we've got to add that to ours. If you double click on your group, open the layer style window, go down to outer glow. You'll see there's a few options there that you can use. The first thing you probably want to do is choose the color of the glow by clicking on that color box and then sampling right from the example. The opacity slider controls how easy it is to see through the glow. Spread is how hard or soft the edge is. 0 is very soft, 100 is a very hard edge, and size obviously is how big it is. Those are the settings you're going to need to use the most. So after playing around with the values, I've got something that looks pretty good on the outside, but if you notice, the inside of the letters are solid black, and that doesn't match the original. The original has what's called an inner glow. So go back to the layer style panel by double clicking on the group 1 and select inner glow. Inner glow has a lot of the same things that outer glow does. You're going to select your color, you're going to decide the opacity. One thing to make sure is that that blend mode at the top is set to normal. It might not default that way, so set it to normal. And by playing around with those values, you can achieve something that's very close to the original title. By the way, a glow effect is a great way to help make text readable on top of a busy background. So the last effect we're going to look at is where the colors in the letters transition from one color to another. It's called a gradient overlay in Photoshop. So open up the layer style panel and go to gradient overlay. Now the options here look a little bit different than some of the other ones we've looked at. First of all, make sure the blend mode at the top is set to normal. Now instead of there being a box of color, you can see that there is a bar that shows a transition from one color to another, and that's what you'll see in the letters. You can click the little box beside where it says reverse if you want to change the order of which color comes first. There's a little dial here like we've seen before, and that controls the angle of the color change. You can have your letters change from the top down or from the side to side on an angle. It's your choice. Scale controls how quickly the colors change. A low value means a very quick change from one color to the next. And just like all the other layer effects, there is an opacity slider that controls transparency. Sometimes letting the original color show through and having just a very subtle gradient can be really, really effective. There's also the option here for the type of gradient. Most of the time you're going to want to use linear, but there are other ones you can experiment with. There's a radial one where it transitions from the center to the outside of the letters, so feel free to experiment. And finally, if you go up and click on that bar that shows the transition colors, you're going to open up an editor that allows you to pick from a lot of different gradients. Now you won't have all the ones I've got here, but you will have all these folders of basic, blue, orange, green, etc. You can open up any of them and just select a color that you like. Or if you want to try something a little bit more complicated, pick a gradient that has only 2 colors, and then go down to the little boxes underneath the bar, double click each box, and you can select your own color. And that way you can choose which two colors transition together. Now the last technique we're going to look at for advanced titles is creating colored boxes or bars that often go behind text to increase readability or to boost hierarchy. Now this isn't a layer effect, we're actually going to be using a selection tool for this. So you want to go up to what's called the rectangular marquee tool. If it's not already set to a rectangle, then click and hold and you'll get a few options. Choose the rectangle one. This tool can be used to draw boxes by just clicking and dragging. Make sure you put this on a new layer that's behind the text that you want to emphasize. Right-click inside the box and then go to Fill. And then at the top, choose the option for Color. And that will let you choose what color goes inside the box you've drawn. You won't actually see the box appear until you hit OK. Now sometimes you want the box to be solid, but you can also make it partially transparent. Select the layer that the box is on, and then use the opacity slider to adjust how transparent it is. If you want to change the size of the box after you've drawn it, you need to go up to your Move tool. And that will give you the control points around the box, so you can rotate it, you can move it, but you can also change the size. If you grab one of the control points and just pull it out, it'll make the box bigger in proportion. If you want to make it just wider or just taller, you need to hold down the Shift key as you pull. So going back to our Stranger Things title, this is the tool that we would use to make the bars that run along the top and bottom. So with the rectangular marquee tool, we're going to draw out a thin line on a new layer, and then we're going to right-click inside it, go to Fill, and then select black, since we want to fill it with black in this case. Now we want to apply the same red stroke and glow that we did to the letters. So the fastest way to do that is to take the layer that bar is on and just move it into the group, and then it will be affected by the same layer effects as all the words are. And then you make the other two smaller bars in exactly the same way. Remember that Photoshop will show you those purple guidelines as you move things around, which can help you line up things like those bars. Okay, so by now you should know how to make groups, how to use glows, how to use gradients, and how to make boxes and bars. So you should be able to make all kinds of advanced titles now. Go ahead and try some out, and let me know if you have any questions.